and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana.
Mr. Jackson? Present. Mr. Little?
Present.
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Ms. Lusko?
Present.
Mayor Bonta? Mr. Burhans? Attorney Dogan?
Here. Move on to the approval of the minutes last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous Port Authority meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, we have first, second. Any discussion?
Yes. I have some comments. This is based on the email we received the day after the meeting last time. Virginia sent out an email to everybody, and it states, "Here are the quotes that I did not receive to add to the meeting packets for the fishing pier. They were forwarded to me during the meeting last night." These minutes, if you look at it and look at all the details, are very important. So somehow they have to get entered into either last meeting's notes or into tonight's notes.
The amounts of the quotes are in the minutes, because, Matt did read them. So I just wanted you guys to have the quotes so that you can refer to them if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. So all of that, those documents were included?
I did copy them and into the Dropbox.
Okay, thank you. And I will bring this up later in the meeting. I prefer not to get information during the meeting about our meetings.
Okay, any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor of passing the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes from last meeting passes. We'll move on to treasurer's report, buddy.
Marina Operation Fund is $222,650.77. Port Authority is $128,964.08. I know there's probably going to be a question about Marina Fund, why it's got so low real quick.
Well, let's,
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
okay, we need a second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Now let's open it up for discussion.
Buddy, as you said, you're expecting some questions?
Yeah, last meeting, we had quite a lot more money, all of a sudden, we're down to 2,200, 22,000.
I can explain. The $300,000 that was directed to Port Authority from the RDC, it's just got to be appropriated to the grant fund that those payments come out for, like Abbenmarsh and Whitcraft and all of that before reimbursement. So it's not low, it's just they haven't appropriated it to that fund yet.
So so as the president of the RDC with the different hat, that's going to come to us, and then that'll be up for us to then go and, I don't know if reimburse is the right word, but yeah. Is that correct?
The funds were already
gotcha.
transferred. They just have to be appropriated to that fund.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
So just for clarifications, they were transferred from what fund to which fund, and which fund will they be transferred then to?
The funds were transferred from the RDC allocation area to the city general fund, and they need to appropriate it to the Port Authority grant fund. I'll make sure it gets done.
That was where I got an order mixed up. So with the RDC, so that happened prior. Now it's in the general.
So does that take city council, or what is the next step to get the funds to us?
All it has to do is be put in there by the clerk treasurer's office. You don't have to worry about going to anybody. I will speak with Michelle tomorrow and have her put it in the appropriation.
There's nothing unorthodox about it, is what she's saying. It's just, it happened to be that we have a meeting going on where that's where it is. If we had the meeting next week, it would potentially already be where you'd want it to see it, you know?
Very good. I just wanted to make sure we have a paper trail, and appreciate your work, Virginia.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion? Great, we have a first and second on the floor. All in favor of passing the treasurer's report, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, treasurer's report passes. Move on to claims. You have two claims reports, I see.
I'll make a motion to approve the Port Authority claims docket as of 9/6/2024 in the amount of $12,152.01.
Okay, anybody second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this motion of that portion of the claims? All in favor, say aye.
I do have a
Aye.
quick question. Obviously, we have a large bill there from South Shore. Barb, can you give us a little more detail on exactly what all they did?
Yes, he replaced all the buoys with solar lights that were laying down sideways, and he also replaced, he installed shallow buoys at the mouth of the ditch along the shallow area of the waterway.
Was this just a one-day project then, or is this a couple different days he had?
This was 3 to 4 days, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that was in the minutes, the last meeting is in progress. All right, all in favor of passing that portion of the claim, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That claims docket does pass. Let's move on to the next one.
I'll make a motion to approve the Marina claims docket as of 9/6/2024 in the amount of $143,508.92.
Okay, looking for a second?
I'll second.
Open discussion? Barbara, I do question this H&T Electrical Services. Are they new to who we're using?
Yes, they are. Circle R Electric lost about a half a dozen employees that went to this corporation called H&T Electric. And the person that we've dealt with for a lot of our repairs at the marina was one of those employees that moved. And we did have we had an electrical explosion on D-Dock about 2 weeks ago that necessitated us to cut the power and bring somebody in to rewire the entire dock.
I assume we'll hear more about this explosion when you give your report. Wasn't aware of such. So H&T is a firm here based in Portage?
They're based in Valparaiso.
All right, they're obviously skilled and approved.
I can say that, as noted, the person, even though the company name is different, it's the same individual who's been doing the work before. So, sometimes you go with the person. Sometimes there's a person who is the person who has the most, institutional knowledge. Let's say,
Barb, my question is on the BTL. You've got it, your description is work done on garage and marina office concerning rotting areas.
Yes, while we had the garage repaired, the soffits, the fascias, the trim around the garage door, we had to have the entry door replaced on the garage. And while he was out there, he made some repairs to the marina office building where there had been a water leak that rotted some of the wood on the soffit and fascia board.
Okay, thank you. So how much was it, this needed work, and how much was it, because of the work that he was called out for, and how much was it that he added on?
Carl, give me a second, I'll look up the invoices.
Thank you. My question for this, obviously, if we have rotting areas in the office there could be in several other areas, and I wanted to make sure we're prepared for future repairs.
Okay, Carl, so the original garage door repairs were $4,861.54, and the additional repairs that were required were a total of $2991.63, and that is where he installed a new service door, wrapped the door, removed the siding above the door and installed a drip cap, installed a new deadbolt, new handle, new door jamb, installed a garage door opener, adjusted the tracks, lubed the tracks, and then this is where he also came out to the Marina building and bent some metal fascia on the office building that was rotting from the gutter seam leaking. And
Okay.
this particular company is highly rated, and the city of Portage does call this fellow out to do a lot of their repair work.
Very good, and I appreciate, I mean, this is all within your authority to pay for it, and I'm glad we got it all fixed.
Okay, any further discussion on this docket of claims? All in favor of passing this docket, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Claims passes. All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Mr. Dogan.
Thank you. For a legal report, I would like to give you another report on the quiet title action that never seems to want to be completed. And what's happened most lately is I was able to negotiate a full disclaimer of interest acceptable to the law firm that potentially held a very large mortgage lien on some of the parcels of the property. It would have been much greater than $100,000. So that's good. And I prepared a form of full waiver of interest and submitted it to Meridian Title for their approval. And they said, well, by the end of the day today, I got full approval of the form of the waiver of lien. However, they said, we want to submit this to our legal department, and their legal department came back with, oh, hold up, we think there might be a problem with the legal descriptions. And so I said, oh, sure. This happens often. I do a lot of real estate work, and sometimes there's a comma or an and or a the or a but or something missing. Well, here's the original legal description. It's 5 pages long. The legal description they sent back to me as modified is 2 pages long. And wow. So they assured me, we had emails back and forth and back and forth. They assure me it describes the same parcels of land, and this is not that uncommon when you're dealing with these meets and bounds descriptions. These are not lots in a subdivision, lot 2, block 3 or whatever. So, okay, but then I got another email that's a little more disturbing, and that is, oh, by the way, your original deed had defects in the legal description. And so now that's a new problem I'm going to have to handle. And I'm hoping it can be done via an affidavit. Sometimes that's possible. Or, it can be handled between us and the title company. Because if not, the worst case scenario would be a corrective deed from Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. And if I understand correctly, maybe that was a difficult task, getting that deed in the first place. So let's hope I can handle this, and I will, but it is a new issue that no one knew anything about. And honestly, I don't think fault can be assigned anywhere, including my predecessor legal counsel. This, I believe, was actually a title company error. Probably the title company before this title company. It would have been the one probably involved with the original deed. Thank you. And then I have no other report, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Tom, I've got a couple. First, let's stick with the deed. Just for clarifications, you're talking about the deed for the marina itself?
I believe it's the deed from Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission to the Portage Port Authority. I think that's the deed they're referring to. I know it is.
Okay, so then, and initially what you were talking about were deeds across the river.
No, it's actually one big deed that was, one deed encompassing all of these properties, I believe, that was signed because the donor donated, per probably the mayor at that time, donated all of the parcels of property to Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. And then I believe this board decided, oh, it ought to be deeded over to the Port Authority, and it all was via, I believe, in my, when I wasn't here, I believe it was deeded via one deed, if I'm correct.
You're correct.
Thank you.
Okay, and then just for some more clarification, you started talking about, you were talking to the title company, then you've referred to they. I think you were referring to they as their legal counsel?
Correct, yeah. What they normally do is they'll take like this, waiver of interest that I prepared from my office, and they'll say, oh, sure, but let us look it over. And that's absolutely normal procedure, and it's best to do it the way I'm doing it, because then you don't have to name this law firm in your complaint, and you avoid all of that and all the negotiations that would take place later and all that kind of problems. And then they don't like to be named. The judge doesn't like you to name unnecessary parties. It's the best way to do it. It's the best practice. And so, yes, so I sent them that waiver, which would be the lengthy document with the 5-page legal description that I'm holding up. And that is when they sent me the email saying, oh, thank you, we're going to review it and send it to our legal department. And that is when I got this email back saying, oh, we'd like you to use the 2-page legal description that I'm holding in my hand now. And then I received yet another email saying, oh, we've looked at the deed and we believe it had defects in it. And that's the deed that we were just referring to, the one from Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission to Portage Port Authority. And I hope I'm being clear.
So I have a question for you, Tom.
Yes.
Did you find a deed where the city of Portage transferred the marina to the city of Portage Port Authority?
That's very old, and I have seen that deed, but I don't know that that's really relevant to this inquiry. Barb?
This would be very recent, like within Mayor Lynch, if the board remembers a little bit, Mayor Lynch did transfer ownership of the marina to the Port Authority.
I understand. Okay. I believe I remember that, and I don't know if I've actually seen that deed, but I don't know that that would be relevant to this, so long as it happened before this happened. In other words, that probably created, it would have transferred the marina itself to this entity, but these are these various, they're these various miscellaneous, I'll call them, parcels of land that were donated by the donor back, years ago, that we're trying to clean up Title II.
I think all said and done, it's still an ongoing process. I'm glad to be in communication, but we still got a while to go.
It looks like it, Mayor, and I'm trying to expedite it, but.
Oh, it's appreciated, and, yeah,
But here's the point I
patient.
think I should make. This is what quiet titles are for. These problems arise during this process rather than, oh, we want to use the land, and uh-oh, we have all these issues. So it's better that they arise now, we take care of them, and then 3 years from now, or a year from now, or 6 months from now, when we want to use the land, uh-oh, we have all these issues. That's why the quiet title action exists.
Yeah, as the mayor said, quite an ongoing process. And just for clarification, moving forward, we don't do it tonight, but it seems like there's 2 different deeds you're talking about. One for the marina, we have the marina deed, which Barb said, and that should be one completely thing. And then the other is the land that was donated to the marina. So if we could call them A, B, or 1, 2, or south, north, something like that, just so we all know forward.
That's absolutely correct, Carl, and actually, I hate to confuse the two. I wasn't referring to the marina deed at all, and I don't think there are any defects whatsoever with that deed, the one that Mayor Lynch signed, and that's the one that Barb brought up. I think that deed is probably absolutely fine. So I don't want to raise any alarms having to do with the marina itself. I think the marina itself is probably 100% fine and correct. These are these miscellaneous properties that the donor donated years ago, back when I was attorney, and we're just trying to clean those up.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome. And any other questions I can answer?
Thank you, Tom.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to marina facility. Barb?
Okay, I passed out a small report. I'm just going to go ahead and read off of it. There's a couple of interesting things. So anyway, for the month of August, we had 637 daily ramp launches compared to 459 launches in the same month of 2023. We sold 100 season passes in 2024, and we've also donated 12 season passes to disabled veterans. We've kind of done that every year for about the last 5 years, and it's been really successful. Fishing is one of the most recommended activities for disabled veterans. And their season passes, as are all season passes, they're valid from January 1st up to December 31st. As stated at the prior PA meetings, the marina still remains at full capacity. Official closing day is October 31st, and marina winterizing will begin thereabouts, close to that day. We will be changing office hours September 22nd, the first day of fall. New office hours will be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 7 days a week. After October 31st, we will eliminate Saturdays and Sundays. Seasonal staff is on duty as our high school schedules allow. And then also, we will need to determine if slip rates are going to be increased. Our current rates are at $69 a foot. If the rates are increased by the board, I will need to know by our October Port Authority meeting as we mail out our 2025 invoice packets late October, first week in November. The garage door repairs are completed. In addition to the original repairs, we also had the side entry door and all the rotted trim and wood replaced, a drip cap installed above the service door, a new garage door opener installed in the office building, replaced rotted fascia wood. To conserve electricity, all light switches located in private restrooms, public restrooms, and marina office were replaced with occupancy sensors. In the marina office, we were blowing circuit breakers due to overload. There's not enough electrical outlets. We couldn't run the ice machine, the coffee maker, the microwave, the fridge, the cash register. We kept blowing circuits. So we had Circle R come out and install 2 new circuits with 10 new outlets. Everything is running really well now. And I think Dan can probably go into this one a little bit, where he discovered a blown up electrical line at D-Dock. He turned the power off to D-Dock, and I contacted and informed all slip holders on D-Dock that repairs would be made ASAP. Special heavy-duty electrical wire was ordered by the contractor, and repairs were made within 3 days. They repiped the feed, added a junction box, and repulled the wire, completed the job, and tested with all good. The painting project is nearly completed with all railings, doors, buildings, trim, picnic tables, benches, and short light poles painted Portage red. The painter is still on board doing touch-ups as needed. I have received no communication regarding the conduit repairs. As I reported at our previous Port Authority meetings, I was informed that the repairs would be completed in 2024. We've taken a few calls from loopers traveling the Great Loop, and again this year we anticipate a few to be docking at the marina overnight and for a few days. Dock replacement quotes were due today. The dock committee will meet to discuss the quotes once the quotes are received. And attached is a quote received from South Shore Marina to remove the pipes and finger docks at the old Paunica property, which is the new location for the public fishing pier. Submitted by Barb Lesko, Harbor Master, September 12, 2024. Any questions? Dan, did you want to elaborate on the electrical explosion on D-Dock?
Yeah, basically it's where the float meets the ramp for the beginning of dock. Here's the platform that you walk down. This is mean, eventually we're gonna all need work, but this is basically the conduit. It's rubber coated on the outside, metal on the inside, galvanized, and when the water goes up and the water goes down, it keeps on fluctuating. The pipe ended up rusting out, and it basically grounded out into the dock. Wasn't a danger. There was a slip holder on the end of he ended up walking down, and he called me instantly, and that was actually the day of the Port Authority last month. That's when it first happened, but there was no metal, no nothing crazy, but it was four wires basically popped, kept on, it sounded like firecrackers for a little bit. We shut the power off, everything was good, and everything was melted together. So it was. Oh.
You could just go ahead and just repeat everything you said. No, okay, no.
Do you want me to?
I think you're probably okay to just kind of,
Okay.
to continue, you're fine. I apologize, that should have been the chair's comment, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, just talk. Okay, basically it was just below where the ramp walks down to, and it connects to the main dock. There was 4 wires, 5 wires, I can't remember how many are connected to it. All basically melted into one connection, and there is a junction box that is at the beginning of the dock, and it wasn't as drastic as it could have been, because if it was underground or anything and it went up, it would actually be into the marina office where the power breakers are. But I did help Dave. We had to pull all the boards on the ramp on that one to fix it, but it is all good to go.
Hey, is this the first time this has occurred?
Yeah, but I do have to tell you that in the next handful of years, if we don't do the new docks, we're gonna have the same issue.
Okay, you're seeing issue and concern?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just due to age and the fluctuation of all the docks. And Marina Shores had this issue for a handful of years, and they had to have the same thing, Michigan City also.
Okay, thanks for the clarity.
No problem.
Barb, I want to thank you for reaching out to South Shore for the bid that's attached. The bid from DK, if I remember correct, was like $57,000, $52,000. And Barb, I asked her to take the initiative to go to our local sources for the removal of these pipes and obtain bids. She was able to get this one back from South Shore, and it's a considerable savings.
Jeff, I did reach out to Kurt Miller at Miller's Marine, and he declined to quote because he doesn't have adequate personnel.
Again, a substantial savings from what we had received from DK, and I think they're very capable of doing the work, and it'll help us with our budget. Anything else on Marina? Any other questions?
Oh, I'd just say one more thing. Central Services with Dan Lunn and Terry Ellis is working out splendidly. Thank you.
If I could just back that up from the other end, I just think that, man, it's a whole different deal across the parks, across the marina. It's just been very cool to see, and here at City Hall.
Mayor, they're pretty much 2 superhumans.
I think it'll be kind of like, if you watch the Star Wars, like there's always a, I don't know, like an apprentice, you know, kind of like that thing, like one day, like Danny will have, you know, somebody down the road, like there's just kind of a, I don't know, seems like there's always 2, you know?
All right, thanks, everybody. Let's move on to safety, and we do not have a report unless anyone has any other issues.
I don't want to spread any rumors. And in fact, I only am aware that one was told to me, and maybe it's not a rumor, that I happened to go to Nativity, and I haven't had a chance to call my pastor yet. Someone recently asked me if somebody went to the marina for like anointing of the sick, or like, it's not actually called like last rites. Was anybody recently like having any trouble there, or?
No, nobody.
Then I will confirm that that was just a rumor. I was just like, that sounded like we would have heard about something. So just to clarify, there was no issue like that where somebody, I don't know, I just wondered if it was like a heat-related thing or something, you know?
Well, last weekend, we did have a jet skier that went out, and the lake was really, really bumpy. He, apparently his friends could not get a hold of him. So 2 other guys went out looking for him, and the one guy came back and he said they can't find him, so I said, we need to call 911, and then go over by the fire department boat and wait for them to come, and you can tell them where your friend might have gone. But they ended up finding him.
Maybe somewhere in all that, there got to be some, yeah. Glad to know. I just figured safety, I would just ask you.
Okay, good report. Move on to planning and development. Matt, you're here tonight?
So just a couple of quick updates. Both the fish cleaning station and the fishing pier are being submitted to Portage Planning tomorrow. The sewer department has waived the permit fee and the permit requirements. We're under an acre of disturbed soil, so we don't have to have an erosion control and sediment plan for MS4, but we still need to submit for planning. So that will be submitted. Talked to Barb earlier today, got a thing for that. So I did also talk to Whitcraft. Whitcraft is still fabricating the structure right now. They are having a delay on the decking that we have. So there's pushing back that a little bit, which doesn't really hurt us at this point. We're still all good for a construction of this year for the Whitcraft structure. In regards to the Ponica property and the fishing piers that Barb alluded to earlier, we do have a couple of things that kind of piggyback off each other. So at the last meeting, you guys had authorized DK Construction to do all the seawall repairs. So that contract was in place. We met on site, did a pre-construction meeting. We've got some actual changes. There's a change order that I have for you tonight. It's actually a deduct because some of the materials, we're not going to need as much of the materials. We're not going to replace as many of the sidewalks as we originally were planning to. They're going to use a flowable fill. So we have that reduction. And originally, it was an increase because we had also asked them to include a price for removing the old docks, the old pieces of steel that are in at the Ponica property. We had reached out to both the marinas that Barb had alluded to, Kurt Miller and South Shore, 3 months ago, asking them for pricing. We gave them the drawings, gave them the specs, and asked for quotes. They all said they were interested in doing it, but we never received any funding. We never received any money from them, what their quotes were, what their plan of attack was. We finally just realized if they're not able to provide a quote, then they're not able to do the work. So we asked DK, since they were going to be on the site, they're going to be bringing down the barges, they have equipment, they do this all over Lake Michigan for a price. They give us a cost of $52,000 at that point. Jeff and Barb said, it seems like a lot. I said, it seems like an incredible amount, but you don't really have a lot of other options at this point. So Barb pretty much begged, I think, the other two. And now, because it's the end of the season instead of the middle of the season when they're asking, we did receive the price for South Shore Marine. So with that, if that is something that you, as a board, are going to move on this, I do have the change order to reduce the price of what DK would be doing inside the marina. So I have that for you tonight if you're interested. And again, it's quantities. We're talking about removing quantities that were originally bid.
So we're getting a reduction in price? Mm-hmm. How much?
So the original contract was $81,978, and the new contract would be $67,283. Now, keep in mind, this is based on quantities placed. So if they get out there and they start finding some additional seawall that needs to be replaced and we have to move and expand it to get better bearing, then that might go up a little bit. But this was something that they immediately said, we do not need to remove all of these sidewalks and replace all of these sidewalks. So we took that out just as a, let's get the contract down and instead of cleaning it up at the end and then explaining it. So if that makes sense.
It's in a positive way for us, negative for
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Matt, when would they be able to do the repairs?
They're getting the jet filters now. They should be out there in the next couple of weeks. They still have So we are also looking at extending the contract terms, or the original we had, their substantial completion was September 27th. We're now asking for October 22nd, which is still before November starts. They've agreed to this. This works for them as well. So that's part of the change order as well.
All right, well, I believe we do not have to move on the change order. We're accepting the fact that we bid up. It's already at the higher bid and it's going to be less.
It will. You can either move to accept this now, or we can do it at the end. It doesn't, they don't care. If the Ponica, and that's why this is being done at the last minute like this, the Ponica numbers were originally in this, and that added $52,000 to the cost savings. So that's why we thought this needed to be presented to the board so that you guys could decide whether you wanted to remove those piers or not with DK Construction. So, yes, in actuality, this does not need to be moved on tonight. You can if you want. It's just
That does
one
not,
less
but
thing to do in 2
South
months.
Shores does. We need to make a move on South Shore to get that approved.
It seemed, it's a good price. They're willing to do it. We've got all the permits in hand. So we talked to DNR earlier today. DNR is going to give us a waiver on getting in there and do the work. So we're set to go. And I don't know, their text is pretty small on this, but most of these quotes are good for like 30 days. And Barbara, I think you got this on 9/9. So I would recommend, if you're going to move forward with this, that you do it now, so this price is still valid.
I have questions, and I don't necessarily want to have a motion as long as we can have open discussion, if everybody's okay with it. In your note here, you say you have permits for
Do you think it
removal.
might be, and I apologize, do you think it might be possible that we could maybe do the motion, then have it in discussion, or you just want to have the discussion first, you're saying?
I'm not going to make a motion to approve it because I have serious questions. So if somebody else wants to make a motion to approve it, they can, or I will make a motion to deny it.
Make a motion to approve, and if someone would like to second, I'm open to, of course, discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, let's move to discussion.
Okay, thank you, Matt, for your report first. In your report, it says permits for removal of old docks secured from DNR, Army Corps of Engineers, and IDEM. Permits from the city underway. So, 2 questions. What permits do you still need from the city? And what would be a reason why they wouldn't give them to us?
In regards to what projects? Because there's 3 separate ones. So let me do this first. So the seawall, all the departments have wavered on it because it's maintenance.
This, in
So-
your notes, it says specifically permits for removal of old docks.
Yes.
So if you could just address that.
Yeah, there's no city requirement for removing of the old docks. That's maintenance. The-
Okay, so then that was added there, and you probably shouldn't have put that in the notes. Okay,
what-
thank you.
What notes?
Actually,
for
wait a
that?
second, I'm a little confused, too. I'm not sure what's being referred to.
Yeah, can you, what notes are you
This was
talking
on your
about?
invoicing, page 3.
If you look at the Avon-Marsh invoice, behind that, Matt has been putting notes as the project goes on.
Yes.
And in the section permitting, it says permits for removal of old docks secured by DNR, Army Corps of Engineers, and IDEM, period. Permits for city underway.
And there's no permits required by the city for those docks, for the dock removal. All the city departments have wavered on the maintenance.
So is it that the word underway is just simply that at the time this was written, you were checking on that?
We were still checking on that, yes. That was what happened at the last month. Typically, the city didn't require other departments to receive permits for work that the departments are doing.
And that's correct, yeah, for obvious reasons.
Yep.
Okay, so that's just basically a typo there. So then, my other question is, I personally have been in contact with the Army Corps of Engineers, and as of yesterday, I received an email regarding this. So I've been asking questions about how it's been going along. The title of the email has been Proposed New ADA Fishing Pier in Portage. This morning, we received the following email. I made copies. I'll just distribute to everybody else. And once again, I'm hoping that you can clarify this, but the email I received, it says, at this time, our office does not possess any records relating to this proposed fishing pier because our agency has not received a permit application for the project yet. Once, or if the permit is received, they'll go ahead and do it. So, and this was from respectively submitted by Gina McCreary, paralegal specialist, U.S. Army Corps engineer, Chicago District. So I'm confused why she's saying permit hasn't been submitted, and here we're saying that it's been approved.
Not for the fishing pier. There's a Army Corps permit is not required for the fishing pier. The fishing pier is being built on top of the seawall. We're not anywhere near the water.
But you said you've received approval for it.
For the fishing pier?
According to this, it says permits for removal of old docks secured from Army Corps of Engineer.
Removal of old docks versus fishing pier. Those are two
Correct.
different things. So there's removing old docks, and then there's putting in a fishing pier. So yes, if you're asking the Army Corps, do they have any permits for a fishing pier? No. I'm not planning on sending an email, but I could. I think the question would be, what if you had said, are there permits for old dock removal? Is that right? Or is that
Yes.
even coming?
Yes,
'Cause, yeah.
there are permits for the dock removals. They're two separate projects. The
One of
dock
them
re-
would need permits and one would not, at least in context of the Army Corps.
Correct. The fishing pier is being placed on top of the seawall, on the concrete. We're not building anything into the water. So Army Corps doesn't have jurisdiction over above the high water mark.
Okay, so well, then why did you submit permits to them?
We submitted permits for removal of the docks, which are on the underside off of the seawall.
Carl, I don't want to say anything negative about the Army Corps of Engineers or any other federal agency, but if I could just explain something. It's happened in the city where someone has come and requested certain records from the city, and sometimes they might name a document with an inaccurate name. So like if you came to Portage, you came to my office, you said, I want this document, and if the name is incorrect, like if the words are wrong, or if like maybe you said that the document was from the year 2001, but it was actually from the year 2002, my office would say to you, you know something, we think you might be looking for this document, and give you that one. Oftentimes federal agencies, in my experience, and it's not like that has to do with the person who's there, by policy, they can only give what you're asking for. So if you sent an email asking for anything related to a fishing pier approval, they're going to simply say they don't have that. I don't know how big or that office that you sent the email to, but it's not like, say, the Portage Mayor's office where someone might do a little extra digging and say, wait a second, do you mean the old dock removal? And then send you something related to the old dock removal. That was kind of a long-winded way, but I'm seeing our attorney kind of nod his head. Am I kind of onto something there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do a word search, and if it doesn't pop up, as you said, nope.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's anything bad about them. They're dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of records requests compared to ours.
Boolean word search, that's called, and if it doesn't pop up, nope.
And I'll be happy to send you the permit that we got from Army Corps for the dock removal. It was signed by Andrew Blackburn, and, I mean, we will not remove things that are inside the water without their approval.
That's exactly what my next question was. I just want to make sure that we actually have all the correct permits.
Yes.
Before we start doing this, because as everybody knows, once those docks are gone,
Yep.
they're gone. So
Yeah.
it's very important that we have all the permits in place, and everybody wants to move forward with it.
Yep, the DNR permit that we received to remove the docks actually has a terms and conditions where it says no work can happen between July 15th and November 30th without the Division of Fish and Wildlife's explicit approval. We got the permit, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that, from DNR finally, and that rider was in there. So now we've reached out to the Fish and Wildlife, and they're like, yes, tell us when, whoever you're going with whether DK or with South Shore, and then they will give the waiver for the amount of days that they plan to be in removing the water, because right now the restriction of working inside the waterway. So Fish and Wildlife has already given us approval. We just need to send them who's doing the work, which is why I'm here tonight asking for, if it's going to be South Shore, great. If it's going to be DK, that's great. It doesn't matter which one, but we have to let them know who's going to be doing it. So when someone calls and complains, they can say, yes, they're able to be working on these specific days.
Thank you for the explanation, but yeah, and if you can provide those permits, just to make sure because obviously I have a conflicting document, and if you have.
Well,
a
no,
permit,
you don't have a
that's it.
conflicting document. You have they're referring to something that we haven't applied for, because the fishing pier is not something that needs that approval.
Right.
We're referring to, what this is referring to is a completely different thing, which is removing of old docks.
Okay, I will restate that. I have a confusing document then, that I would make sure, just want to make sure we have all the permits correct.
Yep. And I know I do the monthly reports with the billings. I'll try to be more task-specific, because it's now merged into 4 separate projects, where originally it was the fishing pier and the fish cleaning station. And then we said, well, let's get the docks removed while we're there. So we added that one to try to get those removed at the same time. And I'm probably lumping my responses to you guys.
And that's fine. The other thing, just on this too, last month you were very timely sending the report out. Unfortunately, the board did not get it until the night of the Port Authority meeting. So I don't know if you have a list of everybody's email, but maybe you can either do that or make sure somebody has a task to, once you send it, you've done your work, and make sure everybody on the board has it well in advance of the meeting. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I just need direction from the board for that. When we first did this, there was 2 contacts. It was Jeff and Barb, so that we didn't have 100 people sending me messages or questions. So I would just ask if that's it, just board action as directing us what to do, because I do not want to overstep my bounds.
So just remind, we do have a motion and a second on the table.
All right, let's move forward with the motion. Any other discussions before we move to vote? All in favor of passing South Shore to perform the work, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay, anything else, Matt? Think we're good?
Nope, yeah, unless you guys want to move on if you want to hold off on the change order, that's fine, we can, or if you want to accept it.
Question, do we need to move on the
Yeah,
change
you know what,
order?
let me
It is less than the bid.
rephrase that. I think we do need to move forward with that tonight, because it does extend the time that they have to do it from September 27th to October 22nd. So I would recommend that the board approve the change order tonight, so that we've moved their completion date out appropriately. It reduces the price and extends the deadline out. I don't want them to be like, well, now we have a problem, because you're not going to extend it out until the October meeting.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, the timeline.
Didn't think
makes
about that until just
Yeah,
right
so
now.
I'll make a motion that we accept the new proposal from D&K for the reduced price.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
And I'll
Thanks,
make a
Matt.
motion to extend the date to October 22nd.
You don't need to. That was in the change order. Yeah, sorry, that was in the change order. Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
Nope, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
All right, move on to old business. about new business?
I have new business. Everybody check your mailboxes for the latest version of the Portage Chamber of Commerce Community Compass. There's some really cool information in there about local restaurants. And the last page, there's an article about the marina.
I saw that article, it was good. I assume you wrote it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Barb, very, very good bringing that up. I'm glad you were able to add that to the magazine.
Thank you. When I put my mind to it, I can write a pretty good little paragraph or two.
All right, any other new business? Move on to public input. Tell us your name, please, and
Yes, my name is Rick Miazga. I live at 5334 Stone Avenue here in Portage. So a couple months ago, I came here and talked to the board about what I determined to be some undersized lumber that was being used to replank the H-dock gangway, and nothing's been done about my request. So I brought some visual aids today if it would help. I mean, for what the joist spacing should be underneath some 5/4 inch treated decking board, and our spacing is 30 inches clear span, and its minimum is 16, even with the most loose international residential building codes. I can't imagine what a marina would be, but I know it's not this. I'm sure the joist spacing should be at least 16 on center, maybe even 12, based on the deck boards that we've chosen to use. It's a problem. They're falling apart already. We just put them down. 2 months ago, I brought it up, and if the board would please.
see what you got.
Happens to me all the time, don't worry.
So basically, I'm not attacking anybody. I just don't want to open ourselves up to any more litigation. I don't, we got problems with the docks. We got problems with electrical boxes. We got problems. This is going to be a bigger problem if we don't address it now. That said, yes.
But Rick, aren't we subject to what we already have?
But that's not what you had down, sir. That's not, you did not put down what was, you did not replace it with the same lumber.
This is the same exact direction as what was already there.
Same,
All of it is the same.
it's the same direction. It's perpendicular to the joists, but the joists are not, are almost double the spacing that is minimum requirement.
Nothing was removed under the dock.
Well, whether it was removed or not is one thing, but I mean, it should be built back correctly when the deck board is opened up and you see that it's inadequate.
That was factory from flotation dock systems in 1990.
Not with 5/4 inch deck boards, it wasn't.
So,
And-
if you don't mind me, not to interrupt, well, I am kind of interrupting, sorry. Barb and Mr. Chairman, would it be, I know that it's not a regulatory thing on our part, as mentioned, like the city doesn't regulate, well, itself and on the house to say it. Could this information we've been given, would it be all right if I request to share this with Mr. Tom Cherry, the head of our planning department? Tom's got a background in all sorts of things when it comes to construction, contracting, but just as the head of our planning department, I think he might be a great guy for us to ask as a courtesy just to review this information and give us some feedback.
Absolutely, Mayor.
I just think that might be a little smoother than, duking that out here.
No, I'm not duking it out. I'm just,
I'm sorry, that's my term. Yeah.
Yeah, just a system of checks and balances with the permitting and/or, inspections after work's done at a residence, that's commonplace. So I would think it would be even more tantamount at a public place that, could be
So for
sued.
my clarification, maybe mine only, I'm not a carpenter by any means, but.
Nor am I.
Are you saying that the placement of the upper decking is in a different configuration than originally intended?
No, sir. I am saying that it is still perpendicular to the joists that are underneath it. As you see in that photo there, you see the joist spacing it should be a minimum of 16 inches on center when the deck boards are perpendicular. It's the 5/4 inch that is the term for what thickness of board we put down on the H-dock gangway. So that thickness of board has to have a minimum of 16 inches of joist span. And joist span is considered inside to inside of bearing points. So you have a bearing point on the south wall, which is a metal bearing point, and then you have one wooden joist splitting up that span, and your spans are 30 inches plus, 30 and 1/2 inches to be exact.
Again, other factory.
I'm not arguing whether that is, but it's not right, and somebody could
Dan,
get
can you
hurt.
clarify any of this for me?
I
And I'm not a carpenter, can you come to the microphone?
And, Mr. Mayor, I totally agree, this is something that we need to bring to the city people, because
I would just say simply, this is more as like a courtesy. I'm not asking for an official. We happen to have somebody who I think if I showed, he might be a good person to give us some advice. Just by comparison, he gave the RDC advice when this was all falling apart and made sure that we knew the proper way to fix it. And it was just nice that we had a department head who was able to basically tell us a diagnosis without having to come and pay somebody to give us the initial diagnosis when we can, you know?
Well, you just replaced decking on one of the trails, right?
I believe so.
So
I saw
Dan,
pictures this week.
Dan, can I ask you a question? Did we
Yes.
replace the boards on the gangway with the same type of board that we removed?
The same type of board, okay, that dock, the ramp was factory from Flotation Dock Systems. They have their specific, if you call Cody, you can talk to him, and you already know. They have their own forest. Their wood is a specific thickness. Everything is to their specs. So you can't go buy a 2x6, and what we use is a thick deck board. It is very, very minuscule. And I could take every one of you guys out to that dock, and everything is structural sound, perfectly fine. And if you walk on any of the other ramps, that's the same exact thickness of all the wood. All I did was replace what was there, and with the same thickness, same everything that was there. I don't know spacing. I talked to Cody. He said he doesn't know, and all that is factory from when that was put in.
I'm just going to ask that the mayor do engage with Mr. Cherry and maybe view what has been done and give his approval or disapproval.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a motion on that here. I just think it's a pretty normal thing for the mayor to go to department head and say, hey, can you have a look at this? You know, similar things happen with other departments, you know? If I think a building looks like it might catch on fire, I might just ask the fire chief to drive by, you know, take a look and see what he thinks.
And I know
So
for-
as for the public input, if the board moves as we say we're going to, will that satisfy your request at this time?
Absolutely. I was here a couple months ago, and maybe I wasn't clear, but it's a problem. It's going to be a real problem.
I think I understand what you're saying a little better. So I don't know if you've met Tom, but he's really good at just checking this stuff out. And then even prior to the next board meeting, if Tom tells me something like, hey, Austin, I'm not going to imitate Tom's voice. He's got a very deep, you know, kind of cool voice. But
I built my own home, and I dealt with a lot of the inspectors and the permit process and all that.
yeah, it's just to say I can follow up if need be. And then it could either be a report at this next meeting or it might just be fixed. We'll figure that out.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the attention.
And for that ramp, that one is built different, aluminum structure-wise, and that's probably why they did build the boards the way they are. The other ones, they're spaced, probably whatever you looked up, 16, 20-inch, give or take. They are actually built up the dock, perpendicular, and H-dock, there's 3 runways across. So you got your side, your middle, and your other way. So that, whoever did the fabrication of that ramp back then, that is why it is the way it is. And if we have a welder and we want to add to that, we can, or do something. But structurally, it is sound.
All right, thanks for everybody's input, clarity, and we look forward to a resolve and clarification going forward.
We have 2 of these printouts. I think there's some insert here so we can look it up. But, Mr. Mayor, we'll give you one of these. You got it right there. And then Virginia, I'll give you one that way you can include in the minutes. Thank you.
All right, any other public input tonight? With that, then, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
We do. Who wants to go or
Second.
stay? Okay. All right, we have first and second, meeting adjourned. See you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.